Again, a Tuesday morning. Welcome into the morning drill, hour number 32 of the program today. No, wait. Well, for more than 31 years, Ben Franklin Technology has provided both early stage technology-based firms and established manufacturers with funding, business and technical expertise and access to a network of innovative expert resources. How does that sound, Brian? Does that sound pretty
Just
good?
Right.
Just
Perfect.
right? Perfect. And Brian joins us this morning from Ben Franklin. Good morning, Brian. How are you?
Good, Luke. I'm great.
Welcome to the program.
Thank you so much. What a beautiful community. What a great drive down here this morning. I left Erie around 6:30 and got here. That's gorgeous. Beautiful place.
Thank you. We planned that out for you this morning.
Thank you.
Well, Brian, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So I'm from St. Louis. Was lucky enough to sell a company in this past May, a year ago, actually.
Wow.
Now. And my wife said, honey, you worked hard over these past 10 years. Why don't you take the summer, just relax. And I was like, wow, what a great wife, right? So that lasted 2 weeks. My buddies were still at work. I wasn't able to really go out and hang with them like I thought my vision would be. So I said, I got to figure out something to do. And I moved to Pennsylvania because I wanted to find great startup companies, great entrepreneurs, great manufacturing companies to really put forward the great things that we do here. I'm just stunned. My background's in software and tech. But it's really impressive, the work that gets done in the manufacturing side and the industrial side. It's a really interesting job, and I really am very fortunate to be here.
So you had a software company?
Used to. Right, yeah. It was a mobile app. And we used to run trade shows using our mobile app.
Oh, wow.
So back in the day, before smartphones, trade shows were paper-based, and you threw stuff in a big bag, and you threw it out in your hotel room at the end of the night, and then you took home the Pez, the glow-in-the-dark Pez dispenser. That's what made it home.
I'm a Pez collector, right? Okay.
No, I didn't know that. Yeah. So we decided, smartphones, digitize, we'll make money. We did that for 10 years.
Wow.
Now I'm on to other things.
Pennsylvania, were you looking at other states, or did you always kind of have an eye towards Pennsylvania?
Well, I went to University Park.
Okay.
So I had an orientation towards Pennsylvania. But when I was looking around this past summer for what was I going to do when I finally grew up and what was I going to do with the rest of my life, I was looking at three things that I really wanted to accomplish. One was find great entrepreneurs, find people who were really looking at how do they create an economic impact, how do they create wealth, how do they do great things. Then I really wanted to help them. I wanted to mentor them, get them connected to the right people in the right networks. And then if I was in the fortunate position, I wanted to be able to get them a check that had enough zeros in it that it was significant enough that they could go live their dream. And so I called around a lot of places, and I started with venture capital firms, and they're real interested in finding entrepreneurs, and they're real interested in funding entrepreneurs. But that middle part, which was really important to me, the mentoring piece, was missing pretty much uniformly. So then I started talking to consultants who were great at finding entrepreneurs, great at mentoring entrepreneurs, but they didn't have the wherewithal to write a check of significance. So it wasn't until I found Ben Franklin, luckily found Ben Franklin, that I saw all three of those pieces come together. And it's a great program. As you mentioned, it's been around since the mid-'80s, and it's done a great job. We continue to do a great job finding, mentoring, and funding entrepreneurs and their companies.
It's amazing, Brian, because I've done work for Ben Franklin.
I know you have.
And, I'll get the phone call saying, hey, we're working with this company. Great. And you think, okay, Pittsburgh, Erie,
right?
It's in the middle of nowhere. It's these people that just, they worked in a job, almost like yourself. They worked in an industry.
Yep.
They thought, there's a better way of doing this. I can do this. So they go in their garage and they create whatever in their garage. And next thing you know, they have this thing that could become huge.
Yeah. You're right. And I'm finding dozens and dozens of those people. Literally weekly, I'm talking with a dozen different people who all have that spark, right? They saw a thing, or they saw an opportunity, or they wanted to do something in a better way, and they're starting a company, or they're in a company, and now they're running it, and suddenly they're in charge, and now it's 22 families that they've got to figure out a way to support. So they're taking their thing that they're doing, they're modifying it a little bit, and they're looking at new markets or new ways of going into markets. It's really exciting when you get around people who have a dream and a vision for what their future can look like, and how that can impact everyone around them.
You know, you mentioned this, and this is what I hear a lot, is they're great at creating this. They don't know how to handle everything else. And you know, I think that mentoring part plays a big role in going in and saying, okay, now that you have this, you do this well, let us get the people that can help you grow to come in and be a part of this.
Well, you know, that's a really good point. Not every person in a company can do 100% of everything, right? Every company has a gap, whether it's 2 people starting out in the garage or 500 people doing whatever they're doing on the corner in 5th and Main. All companies have gaps.
Ours is Mark.
Right.
I'm leaving now.
So what we do is, through our transformations group, we actually provide those business services that help companies identify where's the gap, how are we going to fill that gap, what's the plan B in case plan A doesn't work. It's really, Ben Franklin really is an all-encompassing sort of wraparound program. It is funding for sure, but some of the most valuable things that we provide are the mentoring through our transformations group, the education that we provide through our e-marketing learning center, which is run by Kathleen von Berglund. Whether you're going into e-commerce or simply how to use LinkedIn more efficiently, we provide those kinds of programs so entrepreneurs can be successful. Once they get their check, we want them to succeed, hire people, and create an economic impact.
You know, it's always education. It always seems like education on the issues is something that needs to take place, whether you're talking about what happens on city council or at a school board, at a community level, at a nonprofit. It really doesn't matter. People need to know more about what it is that they're doing and how to accomplish that, because I find that the more folks get into what it is they're doing, the more they find they need to know. And that sounds like you go a long way to taking care of that.
Yeah. What's the old saying? The older I get, the smarter my dad becomes.
Yeah, something like that.
So it's exactly the same. The more you're entrepreneurial, the more you dig into the nitty-gritty of what your company's doing, the more you realize, wow, I need a smart person to help me with X, or I wonder what Ben Franklin can provide me so I can fill this gap over here. You're very right.
You know, it's amazing, and I'm sure you're a guy who likes challenges. You started a company based off of...
I think my wife is the one who likes challenges.
Oh, she likes challenges? But you're a technology guy. You're coming into an area where, I don't want to say we're behind, but, you know, folks are, maybe 5 years behind the latest trends in the big cities.
Yeah.
I mean, so you've got some challenges to work with, and because you still have people say, well, I'm not sure how to utilize the internet to help sell my product.
Right. I don't think that's unique to northwestern Pennsylvania, I'll be honest with you. I've been fortunate to come from St. Louis, which is a very sophisticated startup community, but it's a continuum, right? There's always people who are just starting, and there's always people in the middle, and there's always people at the further end, right? You want to have a mix of that. I find naturally younger people are a little more, Pokemon Go, right? That's the latest and greatest craze, right? I literally was run into by someone the other day or yesterday playing Pokemon Go. It was a younger guy. I say Pokemon Go to someone who's maybe a little older than that, and they're not exactly sure what that means. So there's always a continuum, but what I found is, especially manufacturers, especially industrial folks, they're really looking at what technologies can be used to drive efficiencies, right? Better, faster, cheaper. They're always looking at how can technology do that. And technology really is the great enabler. And that's really what we try to provide, is some insights and some thoughts about, hey, manufacturing company, if you added some software to your industrial process, what might that do? The Internet of Things has become a very big manufacturing opportunity, where we now have companies in our portfolio that provide software to manufacturing companies to help them be more efficient in the creation of what they're doing. So yeah, I wouldn't say that we're behind the trend. What I would say is that we're looking aggressively at all opportunities. Manufacturers, startups, really great energy coming out of the Northwest.
It sounds like it takes the fundamentals of running a business or a firm and really builds upon that. So it takes the basic building blocks and then adds something to it. I like the term you mentioned as it being an enabler.
Yeah, you bring up something that's really key to what sort of gets us going every day. I have obviously lots of friends, and they're excited for what I'm doing, and they see the kinds of things, and they say, how do you tell a company they've got a bad idea? And frankly, I never do. What I tell a company is, you've got gaps here and here and here. How are you going to go to market? What's your pricing strategy? How do you sell? What's your process for making, plan B? That's how Ben Franklin works. We don't sit on a high chair and say, yes, no. That's not what Ben Franklin does. What Ben Franklin does is it takes the energy and passions of people and say, hey, if you do these 5 things, you'll have a business, and you'll be able to hire people, and you'll be able to live a great life and do all of the things that you dream about. That's really at the core of what we do.
It's filling in those gaps.
Helping people fill the gaps. You got it.
8:22 is our time. This is the Morning Drill on Stream Television and the Allegheny News Talk Sports Network. So you've got somebody watching or listening right now saying, boy, I had this idea, but I don't know what to do. What's my next step? Or I've already, maybe made it through a couple of the processes. What's next? How do I get funding? Who do I talk to? How do I even get started setting that up?
I'm really fortunate sitting over here. Some of our economic development partners, we in the Northwest region of Pennsylvania are very fortunate in that there are so many great programs and people who are looking at how do we help grow companies and grow employment in this region for free. It's stunning to me. I say this all the time. The SBDC community, the small business development centers, they provide services that would cost $5,000 or $10,000 anywhere else you'd go, and it's completely free. You go to the SBDC website that's near your town, you sign up for their Jumpstart program, which kind of gets you going. Then you're assigned a consultant, and that consultant works with you to help you do whatever you need to do. I mean, that's where I start typically when companies approach me and we have an hour-long conversation about what they're doing and how we can help. As we start identifying some of those gaps, the SBDC is typically the first stop where I send somebody. We were talking earlier, Deb and I were talking earlier, the goal is not for me to know everything and to be able to help you in all cases. The goal is to make sure I know enough about the community opportunities and the community resources. My 100% goal is to make sure you accelerate your idea, whether that's with Ben Franklin, with the SBDC, with whomever it might be. That's really important for us to keep people
I'm glad to hear
forward.
about the SBDC. I've known about them for quite some time. I ran into them again and some organizations very similar to them at a Veterans Expo here probably about a month or so ago.
Yeah.
And it was nice to see that there was a program like that geared specifically to veterans who were looking to do something entrepreneurial.
Yeah.
And it literally, when you talk to these folks, they literally show you how to go from 0 to 60, in a relatively short period of time. They give you all the tools that you really need.
Well, that started in the mid-'80s when it became obvious that Pennsylvania's steel industry was going to be challenged. The political leader, and you were talking political stuff earlier, the political leaders decided, hey, we're not going to let it, we're not going to go down with the ship. We're going to figure something out. And they started programs like the SBDCs and Ben Franklin and some of the other economic development entities to really grow from the core, grow from the grassroots. It's really hard. It's nearly impossible to recruit Fortune 1000 companies to come to your state. It's just not the way it works. In Pennsylvania, we're growing from our grassroots. And frankly, that's way more sustainable. You've got someone who builds a company, passes it down to his daughter. His daughter grows up. They have 3 children. Now it's their children's business. That's the way you have long-term economic impact.
Yeah, I can think of some tool shops in Meadville right now that have that going on.
Yeah.
But, it's their grandkids now running.
Right.
And even same around here. There's a lot of companies around here that have, their kids or grandkids.
Right.
So if somebody wants to schedule an appointment, what's the next step? I mean, can they call you guys, contact
Absolutely.
the office?
Yeah, the easiest way, frankly, is on Twitter. So my Twitter handle is BenFrankBryan, or you can email me, but it's really hard to email me. So just BenFrankBryan is the by far easiest way on Twitter. You can reach out to me on LinkedIn at Brian Slawin, BrianSlawin. Or if you like to use the phone, it's 814-898-6650. Those are the 3 easiest ways. But use Twitter. It's by far the easiest and best.
Do you find people still kind of hang on to wanting to talk to a real voice first?
Oh, yeah, sure. I mean, call me. We don't have one of those.
Mark has a rotary phone in the office. So
I do. It's actually in my garage.
We don't have. We don't have that voicemail. Press 1 to speak to a live person thing.
But but I find there's all these studies that say voicemail. Nobody likes voicemail anymore. Younger kids hate voicemail. It's easier just to text somebody.
Yeah.
They don't
sure, text.
Or if you call, you see it's a missed call. There's no sense in leaving a message.
Text away. I mean, so seriously, my cell phone, 814-230-0080. Text me. Call me. Yeah.
Do whatever.
No, we're happy to talk.
So I imagine for you, part of the excitement is coming into the office every day and experiencing something different.
That's somewhat exciting.
Okay.
But I'll tell you what's really exciting. I know this sounds a little sappy. What's really exciting is that every single day someone brings me their dream. Someone has finally said, I'm done doing X. I want to live my vision of the future. That's what I get to do every day. That's what wakes me up every morning, is someone's out there waiting to talk to me, to bring their dream to me so that I can help them fulfill that. That's why I moved to Pennsylvania, because there's thousands of people like that, and I'm just now starting to touch the first few of them. So it's really.
How many times have you said, somebody comes in and says, "This is what I've created," and you thought, "Why didn't I think of that?" That is great.
A lot of times. It's a lot of times. So we're actually on Facebook Live right now.
Oh, hi.
Hi, Facebook.
Hi, Facebook.
Live.
Yeah.
So 15 years ago, I was in Venice, California, and if you've ever been to Venice, there's all of those 10 by 10 stands, right? They sell everything from shoes to hats to belt buckles and, everything in between. So I'm there, and I'm describing on the phone to my wife the belt buckle that I want to buy. And she can't, it's like, I'm not doing a good job, and she doesn't understand. She said, just buy it, and if I don't like it, we'll return it. I'm like, okay, fine. Had I had, literally at that moment, I thought, you know what? What I need is a camera in my phone. This is 15 years ago, a camera in my phone. Of course, 2 years ago, or 2 years later, cameras and phones came out, right? So, yeah, that happens all the time. People come to me all the time with really interesting ideas that I think, wow, this is really cool. We could really do something here. But it always goes back to, great idea, how are we going to execute? When people come in with, I've got the world's greatest idea, it's like, great. Ideas don't matter. what's the plan to execute against that? And that's really where we work.
Brian, you've been great. We'd love to have you back sometime.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just up the street. I mean, literally just up the street.
Then we'll have you back, because I think we could go on and on talking about some other things. But first of all, can you say go Steelers or go Pirates? Not yet.
Not from St. Louis. No, I can't say either.
We're going to get you to say that.
I have a friend, TJ King, up in Erie, and he's a diehard Pittsburgh guy. And when the Cardinals and the Pirates play, we, jab each other. So I'm not yet on the Pirates thing. I'm there with the Steelers.
Okay.
Because as you know, the Rams are
gone.
No longer St. Louis.
Yeah. Well, good.
Yeah.
I'm glad you can adopt
But
it.
I'm a Penn Stater. Penn Stater is where my heart is.
Excellent. Well, it's great having you on. Let's have you back.
Thanks, Luke.
All righty.
Mark, good to see you.
Good to see you, too. Thanks for being here.
Final look at news coming up next.